Merry Christmas. It's December 25th, 2018. We're here in southern India, Kochi, India. If you're following my chronicling my journeys here at the Ayurvedic Treatment Center here in Kochi, I have come with Jared Willis, who is also taking treatment as well as myself. And so I wanted to interview him about his experiences so far. We were there today, we were there yesterday, but he specifically came because he had been diagnosed with mitral valve prolapse, and he most recently had some symptoms that he was concerned about, and he saw his allopathic doctor. And so we were just happening to come here to Kochi anyway. So this is a fabulous time for him to be able to take this Ayurvedic treatment. And if you understand me, or if many of you do or know me, you understand that I'm a psychotherapist and that I have always believed in the mind body connection and how our minds and our emotions affect our physical health, and how traumas can affect us, and how the energies can get trapped in our body or held in the cellular memory of our body. So I wanted to share the story that Jared spoke of about his remembrance that he had today when he first learned that he had the mitral valve. And then we're going to share his treatments and his experiences that he had here at the Ayurvedic Treatment Center. So thank you, Jared, for bringing me here and opening my eyes to
Always
this
good to be
to
here.
this world.
I'm
But
glad
it's
your digestion's back on track.
it is my yes, my digestion's doing good. I think I'll just eat Indian food, and that's all I gotta do. I gotta find me an Indian chef, so maybe a really cute one too. So all's well in that department.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. Gotta go home. But anyhow, we're here about primarily for you and about your heart murmur and mitral valve. Can you explain to people what you understand about what mitral valve prolapse means and how your understanding of that came about when you were like 14?
Sure. Well, just to give you background, when I was 14, I was diagnosed with, doctor was listening to my heart. There was a clicking sound, and then they investigated with an echocardiogram, which is basically an ultrasound, but instead of looking for babies, they look at your heart and see how it's beating, and they basically found that, and it's genetic on both sides of my family, both my mom's side and my dad's side have it. In some ways, my parents have more less functional. They have symptoms and they have precautions that they have to take. But when I was 14, they looked at it and they said, "Nope, this is what I have a bowed mitral valve, which means that it sort of when the valves between the chambers close, what I understand it is it sort of bows the other way, but doesn't open and doesn't prolapse, which would mean that blood would flow in the wrong direction. And so I was just told to keep an eye on it, and then maybe we can retrace our steps. Then about a month or two ago, I had some symptoms, shortness of breath, which at first I thought maybe it was asthma related to bad air quality. And then around Thanksgiving time, I really had some very heavy symptoms. So I went to the doctor and had another echocardiogram. And they said, in fact, under those circumstances, I was having a little bit of regurgitation of the blood, which in and of itself isn't the end of the world. But he basically said, this is caused by stress. This is caused by too fast heartbeat, high blood pressure. If you can keep that under control, you'll go back to where you were. This doesn't really come as a huge surprise. Life is stressful. My job is stressful. And I think the way that we were already planning to come here, I had the test done in Kuwait and then brought the test to my doctor in Chicago. I happened to be going for a family wedding. My doctor in Chicago is also an herbalist and a holistic doctor, so he uses all the Western medical tests. But his first line of treatment is to use herbs and natural treatment as opposed to prescribed drugs. Although he did give me a prescription for a beta blocker, but said let's try all these other herbal and homeopathic medicines first, and if that doesn't work, let's go to this plan. So he gave me some prescriptions for things to rebuild my heart as well as to help control my heartbeat and any anxiety or issues around that, which are also genetic in my family. And then we came here to treat the stress and the heart condition Ayurvedically. So I've had similar treatments to you as you discussed in your video. We can maybe talk more about that in the coming days because I know I have some special treatments that are designed specifically for my heart coming up in a few days. But something that today on day two, when they were dripping the hot, for me it was hot buttermilk on my forehead, I had a memory of when I was originally diagnosed with this. And when I was originally diagnosed when I was 14, the doctors thought it could be related to a genetic disorder which ends up being fatal called Marfan syndrome. I had to have a genetic blood test for it. It took some time for them to do it, but I remember, up until that point when I was 13 or 14, I was never afraid of doctors. I don't remember having anxiety around anything medical. But then all of a sudden, I remembered the whispers of my parents who probably didn't deal with it.
And Marfan syndrome is
People who are tall but not genetically tall, like in my family where everyone's tall on both sides. People who,
6'11".
yeah, people who are tall but don't have this is a genetic disorder where they end up becoming more tall and having weakness in their connective tissue, which usually results, most of them die of a ruptured aorta at some point in their 40s or 50s. So there was a time when my family or my parents thought that this is something I had, and before they cleared it up, I remembered today, and it's not a repressed memory, but it simply was brought back to me when I was having the Shirodara treatment, that this memory was still very much ingrained in me, the anxiety around, something serious being connected with my heart.
And their fear and their worry probably just embodied that, imprinted that within you.
I have a very strong memory of like sweating through my clothes at the doctor. I have a memory seeing my parents discuss it. Maybe I was in the same room or maybe I was overhearing them. And I remember just a lot of anxiety around that. And it's in some ways, from then on, that was my experience with anything medical, like waiting for that shoe to drop,
Right.
waiting for a death sentence in some ways. And I was reminded of that today and that I have to clear that memory. And another thing that I remembered around that memory was um, being in my bed at night and not being able to sleep, but then hearing, I don't know if it was a voice or just having something deep down saying, "You're not, this is not your end. You're on this earth for a reason. You have something big to do. Don't worry about it." Now, it didn't calm me down at the time, but I remember having that, I use sort of confusion or that tension of, on the one hand, what's wrong with my body? On the other hand, what am I here to do? And I should also mention that when I had these symptoms, I of course talked to you about it, and you gave me a reading, and you discussed some of the reasons for the anxiety and also the connection with my heart. And I also, with a referral from you, spoke to a medical intuitive who did a body scan and also brought some similar issues and also pointed out some other things related to specific areas in my body and trends in my life or things that are going on that need to be cleared. So I know that's part of what we're going to do on a different day.
Yep, we're going to do
Is
some cord clearing, some energy clearing, some spiritual healing uh, work that I do. So we're going to be doing that later. But we just wanted to really talk
to
today
frame
about,
it.
yeah, to frame it, but also the epiphany of, oh, okay, so I'm here to deal with this heart murmur. I'm going to be treating Ayurvedically, but also this belief system that was ingrained in me, the fear, the trauma from my parents and my own, has now been lodged within my system. And so when I become anxious or nervous, again, where you've been under a lot of stress for several months or probably several years, but more recently in the last 3 months, that you become symptomatic.
Yeah.
Symptomatic,
And
and there's no coincidence that this is how I feel. I don't know how you feel, but we recently, and 2 months ago, we were in the Great Pyramids, and we received. If you are following me on videos, many of you know that we went into the King's Chamber and we were downloaded with specific new light codes, and hoping that you track this, but there's new energy that's being infused on the planet and that was infused within us. So whatever, this is my belief or understanding, whatever that is not a balance that needs to be purified is going to come up to be cleared. So your stress, your anxiety, your fear is now coming forward into the weakness of your mitral valve prolapse. So, okay, this anxiety, this fear needs to be purged. So I was trying to explain to Jared, don't get too alarmed by it. You will go to the center, but we'll do some spiritual healing work. But also just let the anger, the stress come up. Don't suppress it. Just feel what you need to feel. And I always ask people to transmute it with love, to transmute whatever emotions that you're feeling with love. So the trauma that you felt from that experience or your parents feel, you just breathe it, use your breath, and begin to transmute this energy. And we will begin to change the story so that you're no longer holding this as your story.
Yeah.
Because we all have stories and we've had trauma, and so oftentimes we want to carry the story or we relive the story or that story defines us. And so maybe not on a conscious level, or some people do because they like their story and they want to keep talking about it. But I think that you weren't like, that wasn't really your story consciously. It was just now you remembered the story. So now we can say, no, this I'm changing. I'm reprogramming. I'm reprogramming my thoughts, my mental thoughts. I'm reprogramming the story. I don't need to hold the anxiety, the fear, the anxiety about this condition. I'm coming here to be treated. I'm doing something about it. And now I'm going to return back to health, full health, perfect health, and full balance.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'd say me, my understanding and the way I looked at it is the body is, it's not, it should be in perfect balance and it's built perfectly. And so there's either something with diet or lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
or some, like you said, past life trauma, or in this
Your
case,
emotions.
I didn't, until you told me that
Yeah.
there was a connection between anxiety and mitral valve
Yeah.
prolapse. I don't know how many doctors I've been to.
Yeah.
You were the first one that said that there's a connection between the two.
Yeah.
So almost even that understanding by itself just said, oh, well, this is just a way that I've lived and I never had symptoms. But now because of the pyramids or it's just the time in my life that
It's time to be
time
purged.
to, I don't need to live,
Yep.
I don't need to live like this.
Don't
And
need
I
to
never
live.
wanted to be
Yeah.
medicated. I've never been
Yeah.
medicated. But this is a sign from my body saying this is an issue of your life and this way of operating is not in balance.
Right.
And you need to, you know, we're bringing it to your attention for you to deal with it. And like I said, I'm not ignoring Western doctors, and certainly Western diagnostic tests are wonderful, much cheaper here in India than in the U.S. But thankfully we have insurance, and so we're looking at it to make sure that everything is in working order, and then working here to clear those issues so that
Right.
2019 we have a good feeling about it. It's going to be a good year, lots going on, and no need to deal with, no need to be stressed about anything. No need to live in a state of anxiety or a state of, in my case, whether it's medical or something that's waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for bad news or waiting for something, the
Right.
sky to fall. So no longer, we're looking to clear that pattern here in the end of 2018 and
And to
move.
empower yourself. So this is that empowerment, because oftentimes when people have something wrong, then they become even more fearful, which then doesn't help you to stay in balance because you're fearful. Your mind, your fear is really feeding more of that fear. So if you could say, okay, I'm going to change my story. This is the energy that I wish to project for myself, because the power of the mind is extremely extremely potent, and our emotions are really really powerful. And I remember 25 years ago or 26 years ago when I started working for myself and trying to help some of my clients understand this, that it was not understood or not recognized. And so times have definitely have changed. And so that's why we're bringing this to your attention, because Jared is a perfect example. He had the epiphany today, and that just it's just wonderful that you're able to like have that awareness. So we got the complete picture. We're getting the allopathic treatment, we're getting the Ayurvedic treatment, and we're dealing with the emotions and clearing the energy. So there you go, mind, body, spirit.
Thank you,
So
Lee.
that's our story for today. So there'll be another one tomorrow. We have more individuals that we're going to interview that are here at the Ayurvedic Treatment Center, and I'll continue my journey as well. So Merry Christmas, Namaste, and blessings to all of you.
Thank you.